Hi, my name is Reid Moores. In 2014, I experienced what most people would call the near-death experience. And when I experienced that situation back in 2014, specifically in January 10th, it was the most incredible feeling. So what happened to me, I never thought it would happen the way it happened because I know that there was something beyond the veil, but I never thought it would come to me as in that fast flash. I had a lot of understanding about death before that happened to me because I grew up in Haiti and it's a violent country. So I've seen death, I've known death. Death was all around all the time. And it wasn't nothing that would surprise me about death. But for it to happen to me, that was the most unusual and the most unique thing. So here's my story. In 2014, I had my fiance and it was good life. So everything was okay. She lived in her apartment and I live in mine. And I remember that day we went out. It was fun. We had good times. So I dropped her off and I went back to home to my apartment. Around 11 o'clock, I went to bed. Everything was normal. Everything was as usual. I mean, I talked to her a little bit before I went to bed. So I went to bed. And what would happen is that around early morning, I was feeling like in a tunnel, which would feel like a sleep, like a dream. But then I realized it was not a dream. It was very real that I was in that tunnel with all of these people. And what would happen is that we were all in that van, that Westphalia type of van, because I know about cars too. So as we're going into the tunnel, pretty dark, I realized, hey, I had a feeling I know where we are because I'm the type that used to make some researches because I mean, about death and all of that. But, I never thought that I would find myself in that tunnel, which were like, okay, only if you die, you can get in that tunnel. But I was in it with all these people going further and further and deeper and deeper. And at the end, there's this, exit and that kind of brightness and light, how would you call it? Because I would feel that, I mean, all these people that say they died, I guess they were right. So that's how I would feel in myself. And I would say to myself, so I was like, could I be dead? So that's when, as I was going deeper and to reach that exit to that end of the tunnel, and the most unusual thing happened. I heard my mom's voice, and my mom, which lives in Florida, she said, "Oh no, we are dead." And at the moment my mom said that, my body that was laying on the bed as I was laying there sleeping just shut down. I mean, completely shut down, like dead. And I knew that because I knew I was dead. And that's when, as I was out of that body, and my mom said that we are dead, I stood and I just looked around. I didn't look at my body because it was so interesting and so vivid and so like real that I'm out of body dead and I'm standing in front of my closet. But when I looked to check on my body, I felt like I didn't want to see it. And then I turned and I kept on looking in my closet. That's when I realized, wow, look at all these things I have. Look at all these clothes, this jewelry, this money, whatever I had there. And I felt this deep sadness because none of that could take me back to life because I know that that's what everybody fighting for, but none of that were necessary and useful. And I felt like, wow, that's pretty intense. That material stuff don't bring nothing more than material peace, but the spiritual peace is not in material stuff. So then I realized it's not where the peace is. So I just went out the room because my apartment was not that big, but it was kind of nice, good size. So I just went out the bedroom, turned to the right to the living room. That's where I had my library and approach. So what I saw was my books there on my shelves. And I picked up one. I mean, wonder how I did that. And I felt some deep sadness that I lost all that knowledge, all this knowledge and all these books that I didn't have the time to open them to read at least one page. So I really felt very sad. And that just like, wow, that's pretty interesting that I was feeling that sadness regarding the books, but regarding the other stuff I had, it was none of that. So I really like, okay, interesting. But I wasn't scared. And then what happened, it was interesting after because as I was there, all of this was like taking me aback because I just like, how can I be dead in this apartment by myself? So at the same time, I felt happy, but I was very doubtful too. And in an instant, I saw myself with where there was this big stage, like a stage where you would perform any type of, bands would stay on and then perform. So I was there standing, and then I could see Earth very, very from afar as I was standing there. And the voice that I heard behind my back said, "You need to bow down to say your goodbyes to Earth." And I was like, "Bow down to say my goodbyes? What do you mean?" And the voice says, "The Earth is nothing but a play. You were an actor." And that's why oh, that's interesting. The Earth is a play. So as the voice was telling me to bow down, and there were these curtains that started to pull together to close, like when a show ends. So when the curtain, was pulling to be closed, I said, "So I won't have any contacts with Earth, none of that, no news, no good news, no bad news, nobody I knew. So all these things that I experienced, so what's it all about?" Says the Earth was just a play. So as I was discussing what's all that about, and then the curtain closed and the voices bowed down. So I just, bowed down like a comedian on the stage. And at the same instant, we were like traveling. But the travel in that realm is not something that people would think as you would fly. You just feel you're there because it's so vast and magnificent that you would just, be. It's a state of being. So I was there in the realm of death where I would feel this intense love, this joy, this pure energy. I didn't see nobody actually of myself, but I felt I was there. And I was there actually. So as we were there, I would get some notions of life and all that there is about some principles of life, about, the human conditions and nature, about some hate, some love. But that was so unusual because what happened is that I had this worry, even though I was in this realm where I was floating or navigating or I don't know, bathing. And it felt as if I was like huge and I could hold everything in my hand, the universe, the earth, everything was so powerful. And I didn't have any fear, I didn't have any worries, but I could sense that I was having something that was holding me back. But yet I still was feeling like, well, you know what? If I'm dead, definitely my people, they're gonna be worried too. And I'm sure that I could come to tell them that I'm okay. And it's like I felt like I could play with death even. So I was like, wow, maybe I can come back to spook him out or something like that because there was no scare, there was nothing to worry about. And I felt that state. And I even say, well, I could even go to my funeral and let him know that I'm okay by some sign, like, that I know I'm not dead and I'm there. It's just they cannot see me. And I would feel all this emotion that what would happen if ever they discover my body in that room, on that bed, laying there, lifeless. And specifically, I was thinking about my fiance, but I didn't really worry because I knew I was in good hands and I felt the intense love and my senses were enhanced and heightened and we were like in that good energy type of realm. So it was so magnificent that it's even undescribable because one have to see it to know it or experience it. And where the climax would take place is that in one instant, because in that realm everything happens in a snap, and I saw myself in that big type of valley as I was going, walking, seeing, checking things out. Like, it's a nice area, very beautiful, calm and quiet. And it feels like I hear this music coming from somewhere. And then I kept on walking and walking. And as I approached a little closer to hear the noise, the voice, the music, and that's where I realized this magnificent gate. It was so huge and beautiful. I was standing in awe. I was like, wow, this is interesting to just look at because I never seen anything like it. It was so huge and gigantic and it reached the heavens. And, I could not even see the top so much. It was big. I would have to probably lay on the floor, on the ground to look. But even then, it was so tall. And as I was standing there admiring the scenery, the gate, the ornaments, the way it works, and the music were playing so mellow and so relaxing and calm. And I felt like I had this deep worry, but then why am I worried? Okay, then everything was fine for a moment. That's when I realized, well, if ever somebody come out of this gate, I'm gonna have to ask all the life questions about the Jesus situation, about all the stuff that the world has gone through, and then what are the truth behind them, because life is It's not about survival. It's about truth. So that's when I stood in front of the gate waiting to be greeted by any who, but mostly since my interactions and people I got out in my family from Christian religion, I would tend more to be greeted by Jesus, not to be like, oh, well, finally I'm with Jesus, but to ask questions. So I stood there waiting. It felt like it was a long time and I waited, but yet it wasn't tiring because it was so magnificent. I enjoyed the view so much and I was like, wow, that's the place to be. And the music was there and I was standing there too. And at some point, I felt like I had a pinch in my heart where something was bothering me. And I was wondering what was bothering me. So I was searching like in myself to know if I really want to go there or not. So I was like, okay, should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? So then I realized a bubble light moment. Wait a minute. I cannot go behind that gate because I knew in myself as if I came from there, but if I ever go back behind this gate, I'm not coming back. And this would be the end, the final end. And as in the moment I thought of that, I felt like, no, I cannot go for many reasons. I don't think I can do it. Not that I don't want to, but I can't because first of all, what I would say, I thought about Chess, my fiance. She would call me as we would do every morning. She would call me or I would call her, like, she would expect me to sometime all the time. And she would call me. She would not find me. And she would come by, turn it on, to open the apartment, turn on, turning the keys in, and then found me in the bed. And as if I was pleading for that not to happen, I was like, no, that's not a sight for her to see. And not only that, I have my parents, I have my life. These things I was told before that how my life would be. So I don't think all that would be lies because prior to that, people would tell me things that come to pass at the end of my life. But when that happened, I was like, no, it cannot be because this is not the way it's supposed. So why should I die now? And if I cross, I know it's the end, but I cannot accept that. I'm not pleased with that decision because the reputation, people would think I was on drugs, I overdosed, or any kind of things. I got shot, anything would be like a cause for my death since they would not know. And as I was standing there pleading my case, that's when I felt like I was pushed, but like I was very high and I fell back in my body. And as if it was like a loud silence. And I use that expression because that's how it felt, the loud silence. And I fell back. And as soon as I fell back in my body and I gasped for air and I woke up, I opened my eyes and I said, no, 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 it can't be. But why I say that is because of the intense love emanation that's there in that realm where you would feel no fear, you would feel great, you would feel secure, you would feel happiness and joyful, happy and joyful, and all these emotions. This you can see without seeing, you can hear without hearing. And with the time dilatation, it's like you've never been there, but at the same time, you've been there. So it was such a great and powerful thing that I tried to go back to sleep again or try to die again in a sense where I would pat my head on the pillow to say, no, 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 no. So I wanted to go back. And I was like, why would you want to go back? Not because I wanted to die, but because of all this great love and energy, positive energy that was surrounding me that make me feel I was so safe and secure that I wanted to be there. But then I realized, hey, you cannot do that. It's the realm of death, and now you're back to life. Consider that what that could have been, because if ever you cross that gate, that would have been the end, and now you're back. You had the experience, you should consider that as the greatest experience of your life. And as I was thinking about it like that and pounding on it while I was sitting on the bed, and I said, I look, and he was check on the phone. It was 5:30 in the morning around. And so I called my friend and I said, you know what, let me see who can I call because I didn't want to keep that to myself. And as soon as I realized there's only one person I could call, it's a friend of mine that live up in Florida, and I knew she worked night shift. So as soon as I realized, well, she could be home by then, I said, let me call her. And I called her and she picked up and she was like, why you call me so early? What's going on? I said, hey, guess what, sis? I just died and I just came back. And she was like, what? I said, yes, I just died and I just came back. It was the most unusual and unique of experience. So I explained to her what happened to me with awe. She listened to me for a good 45 minutes. We discussed the situation. And after that, I hung up with her. We hung up and she went to bed. So by 6 something now, I finally stood up, got up from the bed and get out of the room. Actually, before I got out of the room, I looked around and felt like, wow, what an experience I had, as if I changed where all this I had mean nothing to me now. It's like cars, the money, the clothes, the jewelry, the this, the that. I feel I disregarded all of them in the same moment. It was so worthless and not necessary that I value my library more than everything. And I went rushing outside to the living room where I was checking my library and I was feeling so sad and very emotional. So I went and I just embraced my library, just checking on a few pages and felt like I wanted to hug it, but I know I could not, but I cherish it. And I looked at it and I felt like that's knowledge that a lot of people don't have. That's why we got a lot of people that are led astray because they don't know. So as I was feeling all these emotions after I came back, and I transformed for the better in a sense where now it's not about, not now, but it has been not about material gain, material profits. It's all about love and care and compassion and relationship, good relationships. And, you take care of the other one because the God situation is the other one that is God. When we look at the other person, you look at God. So that's why we got all this frustration in the world. So one person says this, one person says that, and they cannot come to an agreement. But in that realm of death, there is no such thing as religion or hate or fear. Everybody comes together. That's what I experienced. And there was no somebody's better than the other. As I was there myself, and I could not trust that I was in that realm because it was so profound that it changed me ever since. Now that I'm talking to you, that this experience is the most unique one I had, that not that I hate it, but I kept to myself for the last 10 years. And finally, I decided to put it in a book, which shared all the stories of near death experiences. As I realized there are 1,000 ways to die. I say 1,000, but it's just a metaphor, but there are many, many more ways to die. And that's why, as I grew up in a couple state borders of religion, because thanks to my parents, they were all very open-minded. So I had to experience a lot of, religion and sex because you can find truth in all of it. So it's all about the balance. And as I was searching, I know that when you sleep, you die, and when you die, you sleep. And that's how death is. So every time we blink, we die because we don't know if we're going to open it back. It might be the last time we blink. That's why I like when Jesus said, the person they said they called Jesus, when the girl was dead, and he said, well, she's not dead. She's sleeping. So that's the way to put death. And death is that experience that transformed me. And I'm really thankful for it. And I'm not scared of it. I'm not mad at it. Actually, I welcome the experience. And I think that's something I really wanted to share. And I appreciate that you gave me the voice to and the platform to tell my story. Thank you.